what time it is. It's vlog time. So welcome back to another vlog. Hopefully it's not too echoey. We're here in Rabina, as always. It's after hours. It's pretty empty. There's not much happening. And this week we're going to talk about fear. And why it's holding you guys back, and why it's the one thing that's holding you back. It's the main thing. It's the one thing that's the everything that's holding you guys back. And it's the reason why you stop doing things. It's the reason why you don't talk when people walk past. It's the reason why you're not happy. It's the reason why you're not approaching that girl you want to speak to. It's the reason why you've not got the job that you want. It's the reason why you're not driving the car you want to drive. It's the reason why you're afraid to speak up in a conflict when you should. Or standing up for what is right or what you actually believe in. So fear can be put into a nice little acronym. Forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. With all that in mind, let's talk about a few key points that have helped me come over my fears, even though we always have them, and I'm still overcoming them. Perhaps some points that can help you overcome yours. Perspective is everything. I want to give you a little bit of more perspective right now to put fear into a little bit more of a specific, concise context. So if you know anything about science, just the littlest thing, you don't have to know much, and if you believe in other religions, this won't sit well with you to a degree, but hey, believe what you want to believe. We know that we've probably been here for millions of years, right? But in retrospect, we've been here for a small space of time compared to the whole universe. And the universe is part of a very complex system, which is probably part of a multiverse, and we don't really know. We know a lot, but in relativity of the whole, we know very little. So if we've been here for a long, long time, and we've only achieved this much in that short space of time, and we know that the universe has been here for 10 times that long. We've been here for just like a grain of sand on a sandy beach, to put it in perspective, right? Like a needle in a haystack. And yet, we've achieved so much in that time. And in our lives, people achieve great things. They spend their life committing to something, whether it's a trade or whether it's a business, or people like Einstein who figure out some of these concepts and quantum physics and all of these amazing things that we have. And yet it's such a small space of time in the grand scheme of things. What was the fear that you had when you were young? What was the first fear? I know mine was a fear of the dark. And it's funny because a lot of the time the first step to overcoming your fear is understanding it. We fear what we do not understand. So for me, when I was afraid of the dark, I was imagining all of the things in the dark coming out. And I have a very overactive imagination. For those people who know me, know I have a very creative and overactive imagination. So I was just imagining these monsters coming out, or whatever I'd seen or read. Not that I watched anything explicit at that age. And it was just, wow. Everything fades over time. Everything fades, unfortunately. Yes, we have traditions, and we have memorabilia, and we have history and museums, and we have art, and we have culture, we have soul, but even then it fades. So when we take a big zoomed out picture and we look at everything, we're only here for maybe 70 years as an individual. That's 70 years, if you're lucky, that you've got to live on this planet and do what you want to do. Now, if that's not a gift, I don't know what is, right? I'm not going to tell you it's divinity or anything like that. You can make your own decisions about that one. But fundamentally, that's not a long time. So, wouldn't it seem like a good idea to do something that you enjoy and enjoy the time that you do have here? Because in relativity, it's very short. And most of you watching this video are probably already over the age of 15, 16, 20. So there goes 10 or 20 years right now. We've got 50 quality years left, maybe some 40, 30, and I'm not trying to be pessimistic here, but this is the truth. So keep that in mind next time you have a fear, because it might be the thing that puts it all into perspective and nicely packages it up for you to make a decision and go, hey, you know what? This is not this scary. And if I pursue this, then I'm probably going to learn something. It's probably going to be a great experience. And if not, what if? And then before you know it, it's the next generation and the next generation. So with that said, how do you then overcome fear? Well, I've not got all the answers and I'm just sharing my personal experience, but there are 3 ways which I think can help. And they are education, desensitization, okay, what's the third one? Education, exposure, and desensitization. So, for example, say you were scared of spiders, right? And there's some big bloody spiders here in Australia. The first step would be to learn about them. Like, can they kill you? Are they poisonous? Are they gonna be like, are they very dangerous? You know, what is the actual threat? What is the real fear that's there? What are the real consequences? And then exposure. Okay, so maybe you're terrified of them. Maybe you need it to be, you know, you get a spider, or you go to a place where there's one in a box in a room, or you catch one, you put it in a box in a room, or you get one of your mates, or whoever it is, or you go to a zoo or something like that, wherever you can find this thing. And then slowly you just desensitize yourself by getting comfortable with that, and then you take a step closer and a step closer to the point where eventually you could have it in your hand, and then you realize that the fear isn't there at all, because again, the fear exists in your mind. So we often suffer more in imagination than we do in reality. Great quote by a very famous philosopher, I'm sure of you may have heard it before, but the idea there is a lot of the time when we educate ourselves about the fear, so say for example, you're going in to get some surgery done, right? And you have this fear about, oh man, what's going to happen and how's it going to work and all this. And if you educate yourself on the procedure, who's going to be doing it, what's actually involved, how it works, you understand it all. Yes, sometimes it can scare you a little bit more. But if you get a big picture, a lot of the time, it will settle your fears and your anxiety, because you'll be like, well, yeah, they've done this a million times. This is the protocol. This is what happens. Like, it's going to be fine. And then obviously exposure and desensitization, you know, over time, you're going to have to expose yourself to more and more of these things, because, you know, through life, like, we're scared of needles. I was scared of needles. You're going to have to get injections. But when you start to understand it and desensitize yourself and rationalize it in your head, realize a lot of the time the fear is all in here and it doesn't actually exist at all. And in my experience, things are never as bad as you make them out to be. And you can probably relate. Like, think about anything, whether it was the public speaking event, whether it was, you know, having to go and present something somewhere, whether it was having to speak to someone that it was a conflict of interest, or it was a heavy conversation, or whether it was a spider, or whether it was some surgery or something like that, or anything that you can imagine. It often isn't as bad as you expect. And even if it is, right, even if it was bad, you're going to learn something from it. You're going to grow. The things that make you feel strong emotions, the things that you are fearful of, things that you don't want to do are the things that we need to do the most. Once again, another famous quote of some sort. But they're there because they're true, and a lot of the time quotes are nice and they're easy to say, and they sort of fit really well sometimes within timing of a conversation. But a lot of the time they're there because humans have been and done all this before. Like this, we think this is new, and even though maybe the theme has changed in 2020 and we're evolving, etc., all the fundamental emotions and principles and methodologies, they've kind of all been done before by a lot of humans, and they're written down in books, and I think this is why there's such value in reading these days. With all that said, really, it comes down to mastering, once again, the mind. So, you've probably got a couple of fears at the minute that you need to overcome. There's probably some things holding you back from doing what you want to do. Like I said in the start of the video, it's the reason why you're not where you want to be, why you can't have the conversations you need to have, why you don't have the lifestyle, or whatever it is that you think you're entitled to, you're not. Because at the end of the day, you have to take ownership of your lifestyle. Your results, the good, the bad, the ugly, the fuck ups, it's all part of it. And I think a big step is taking ownership in all of that. Once you realize that you are in control of most of your life. There's a lot of things that you can't control, like the weather, etc., and don't worry about it. Focus on the things you can control. Again, fear, break it down. Educate yourself, expose yourself, desensitize yourself over time. But I'm guaranteeing you that if you continue to do that and you face up to your fears, and something else to consider is that time feeds fear, right? So the more time you give it, the more you have to stew over it, to marinate it, to come up with these, fantasies in your head and dreams of how it could and should and might play out, and it never usually does. So a lot of the time you want to attack your fears. You don't want to let them kind of build up and build up. Like, for example, if we were going to go skydiving and I said, we're going to go skydiving today, this afternoon, you don't have a lot of time to be scared. But if I say, hey, we're going skydiving in 2 weeks, you've got a lot of time to let that sort of build up, that fear bubble away. You've got a lot of time to pull out as well. So sometimes you're best to attack fear and don't give it time, because time feeds it. Guys, as always, just some thoughts from me. Nothing special, nothing magic, just paying it forward, passing on experiences, mistakes, and lessons learned from my life, whether they're good, bad, ugly. If you get something out of this, then at the end of the day, it's a positive. I'm just documenting things that I love to do, that I have had experience with, that you can get some takeaways from. As always, thank you for your support. Remember, if you like the video, comment if you've got anything positive to say, or if you want to hear or see something specifically. And of course, make sure to subscribe for weekly vlogs. And as always, until the next time, stay fearless, and I'll be seeing you next week. So food for thought. Next time you're fearful of something, of doing something, you're procrastinating on it, or there's a few things that you said, oh, I've got a bucket list and I want to do this. Have a little think about that.